New Smyrna Beach Police Department, Office of Professional Standards, Administration of Oath and Perjury Warning, IA number 2021-006. Officer Brett Galt, ID number 1816. I am Lieutenant Mark Severance with the New Smyrna Beach Police Department. Today's date is Friday, December 31st, 2021, and the current time is 17:34 hours. The location of this interview is the Office of Professional Standards conference room located at the New Smyrna Beach Police Department. Officer Galt declined to have union representation or legal counsel present for this interview. Officer Galt, are you aware that this interview is being recorded?
Yes.
I'm conducting an official administrative investigation concerning City of New Smyrna Beach Policies and Procedures, Section X, Group 2M, Group 2, Section M, violating the rules, orders, and policies issued and adopted by the City Commission, City Manager, and/or Department Head. Specifically, Policy and Procedure Directive 15-2, Preliminary and Follow-up Investigations, Section 15.2.7, which talks about investigative detentions. As a Florida law enforcement officer and notary public of the state of Florida, I am empowered to take sworn statements. At this time, I would ask that you raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the statement you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Any false statements about material matters given by a witness under oath will constitute perjury, which is a third-degree felony, according to Section 837.02 Florida statutes. Do you understand that if you knowingly make material misstatements of facts to me during this investigation, you will have committed the crime of perjury?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to sign this, and I'm going to have you sign it. If you would sign it there and date it at the bottom. Yeah, 31st. Okay, thank you. Advisement of rights for a disciplinary interview, otherwise called the Garrity warning. I wish to advise you that you are being questioned as part of an official investigation of the New Smyrna Beach Police Department. You will be asked questions specifically directed and narrowly related to the performance of your official duties or fitness for office. You are entitled to all rights and privileges guaranteed by the laws and the Constitution of this state and the Constitution of the United States, including the right not to be compelled to incriminate yourself. I further wish to advise you that if you refuse to testify or to answer questions relating to the performance of your official duties or fitness for duty, it will be considered an act of insubordination and a violation of a direct order by a superior or competent authority. If you do answer, neither your statements nor any information or evidence which is gained by reason of such statements can be used against you in any subsequent criminal proceeding, except for perjury or obstruction of justice charges. However, these statements may be used against you in relation to the subsequent department charges. The aforementioned advisement of rights is not the warning in criminal cases under the Miranda decision. As mentioned, Miranda has no application in a disciplinary interview. Understand?
Sir.
Okay. Sign, date, and I'll put the location there. Okay, for the record, please state your name, rank, and current duty assignment.
Officer Brett Galt, patrol officer.
What shift do you work?
Bravo shift.
Bravo shift.
Yep.
Have you reviewed the USB drive files, documents, recorded interviews, YouTube videos, BWC videos, the Central Dispatch radio and phone calls I provided you on Monday, December 27th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay, before we go on, I'd like to say that obviously everything that on this particular incident was captured either on the subject's video, YouTube videos that have been posted, as well as your BWC and Officer Beatty's BWC. So, as we talk about these questions and stuff, if you say something that isn't exactly what you said on the video, that's not an issue. The issue, we want to get to the core of it, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, at approximately 19:27 hours on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021, were you dispatched to a call for service identified as a suspicious person, call number P2134-82050, at the New Smyrna Brewery located at 143 Canal Street?
Yes.
Did you read the call notes while en route to the call?
Yes.
What did they tell you?
The call note started out saying that there was a male dressed in all black, black shirt, black jacket, and originally he was asking for money from people sitting there, and that's all I read because I was right around the corner from the scene, so I didn't take me long to get there, and that's what dispatch advised what was going on to over the radio.
Okay. So what crime were you intending to investigate there?
Well, at that point, they said that he was at or in the business asking for money, and the business owner just wanted him to be moved along, and they didn't want anything to happen to him. But at that point, he was in the business asking people for money, as far as I understood from that point.
Okay. Do they call that panhandling or asking for money is what it said in the call notes?
Yes.
Is panhandling a crime or a city ordinance violation?
It's not a city ordinance violation.
Okay. Upon your arrival on scene, what did you observe?
A black male, or not a white male dressed in all black, standing on the sidewalk behind the car, holding a sign and walking back and forth up and down the sidewalk.
Okay. When you made contact with, we'll call him Mr. Gray because we ultimately did identify him during the encounter. Can you describe the interaction you had with him?
I was just trying to be like people, like I am on most calls, just trying to get to know who he was, what his purpose was there. He was really blunt, not like straight up, not like asking or answering my just questions, just normal questions I had. Just what are you doing there? Is there a purpose you're up here? Stuff like that. He was just keeping to himself at that point.
Okay. What did he tell you he was doing?
That he was just whatever the sign was like. God bless the homeless vets. He was just trying to make people aware that God needs to bless the homeless vets.
Okay.
And he just kept going on to that topic.
Where was he at when you first encountered him?
On the sidewalk, by the car, by the light post.
By the curb?
Yeah.
Where the car's parked?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you ask Mr. Gray to move along or leave the area?
The business owner said initially saying that he was asking his customers for money. He just didn't want him up front of his business.
Okay. What was Mr. Gray's response?
He said he wasn't going to move. He said he has the right to be there, and he didn't feel like moving along.
Okay. Was he holding a sign that said God bless the homeless vets?
Yes.
Why did you ask Mr. Gray for identification or to otherwise identify himself?
It's usually on calls that we go to, we try to identify everyone, and I was just trying to get to know who he was, just so I can identify him and say that I made contact with this man in front of this business, and the business owner just wanted him moved along at that point.
So what did Mr. Gray tell you?
That he was not going to provide ID.
Okay. Did he tell you anything about himself or?
He said his first name was Jeff.
Okay. Was there any dispute over what was public property or sidewalk or what was owned by the business?
Further down the investigation, yeah, the business owner was not aware of what his boundaries were of the sidewalk. We later found that out.
Okay.
He wasn't aware of what the line was.
Who wasn't aware?
The business owner.
Okay. So that kind of leads into my next question.
Mm-hmm.
At this location, did you know what was public property and what was business property? Roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could imagine that any certain feet off the curb is still owned by the city due to being public road, and then the public sidewalk, obviously, and then whatever the business had the benches were, I was assuming was the business
Okay.
property.
All right. Why did you tell Mr. Gray that asking for money is technically against city ordinance?
At that point, I thought panhandling was a city ordinance violation.
Okay, so it was your belief that it was?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that?
I thought that early on in training that we had a call, and there was people asking for money, and I thought that we looked up a city ordinance violation that was panhandling, and it's not a city ordinance violation. It's a state statute actually. So,
For, what's the state statute refer to?
like if you're blocking, like stepping out in traffic, blocking people's right to move.
So it's a 316 violation for some type of impediment of traffic.
Right.
If
It's a
you're
traffic violation.
soliciting or entering traffic patterns, right? That wasn't the case here, was it?
No.
Okay. Did you speak with the reporting party inside the business?
I did.
So describe your conversation with him.
I asked him, I was like, hey, just give me a rundown what's going on. He initially was like, oh, he was up talking to people at the table, asking them for money, and then when my waitress went out, he went on to say that he was harassing her, and he wouldn't go into detail of that, and the waitress didn't want to go into detail about that either.
Okay.
So at that point, I went back out, and
you re-engaged Mr. Gray.
I did, yes.
Okay.
I asked him about that.
Right. So at this point in your investigation, did you have any reasonable or articulable suspicion that Mr. Gray was committing, or was about to commit a crime or a violation of city ordinance?
At that point, I believed he might have been asking people for money due to him not answering my questions. So that's why I went back out and re-engaged with him. I thought we had something maybe stirring up.
So at this point, you're still thinking panhandling is a city ordinance
Yes.
violation?
Yes.
And you're acting on that assumption
Yes.
to try to continue the investigation?
Yes.
Okay. Who did you call on the phone when you went inside the business?
I called Officer Galt.
And what did you tell him?
I said that, hey, we have the business owner is stating that this is what's going on, and the male is not answering any questions. And at that point, I was just going for maybe a senior officer to come and try to help me work through the situation.
Okay. So you told him some of the details of what was
I
happening?
told him what the business owner just told me, and that at this point, I just need someone else to kind of hear the stories and work through it and see what we have.
Okay, so when Officer Beatty arrived, did you go meet him?
I did, yes. I
And-
gave him a rundown of what was going on and what
Okay.
the business owner told me and what the male was actively doing at that point.
Okay, can you describe Officer Beatty's initial contact with Mr. Gray?
He was asking him the kind of the same questions I was, kind of starting over the process. And then when he didn't want to identify himself, that's when he kind of went, instead of talking to the business owner, he kind of went hands-on with Mr. Gray. And at that point, I usually, like when we investigate other crimes and stuff like that, we listen to both sides of the stories, come back, talk to each other, and I don't know where that happened, maybe because he was frustrated with
Okay.
him.
Do you think that would have been a more prudent course of action to continue the investigation and figure out
I
what's
do.
going on?
I do, yes.
Did you hear Officer Beatty tell Mr. Gray that if he didn't identify himself, he was going to go to jail?
I did, yes.
Okay. Okay, I want to go over the Policy and Procedure Directive. I know you've probably read it. I did want to bring to your attention that, the record shows that you read that on Power DMS on April 28th of 2021. That's when you read it and signed it. The directive itself, in the section that I already enumerated, that talks about investigative detention, it says an officer is permitted to stop and briefly detain a person for investigative purposes if the officer has a reasonable suspicion supported by articulable facts that criminal activity may be afoot, even if the officer lacks probable cause. Such encounters must be evaluated by considering the totality of the circumstances. Investigative detention should last no longer than is necessary to effectuate the purpose of the stop. The investigative methods employed should be the least intrusive, reasonably available to verify or dispel the officer's suspicion in a short period of time. Any investigative detention must conform to current law. current law, you know, that governs it in the state of Florida is, Florida statute 901.151. Are you aware of that? Stop and frisk statute.
Yes, sir.
It's referenced as a reference point in this directive, under the attachment section, that basically says the same thing. Do you understand that directive?
I do.
Okay. So with that in mind, and what you know now, I'm going to ask you in retrospect, after reviewing everything, all the body-worn camera videos, his videos, the YouTube videos, the documents and stuff, would you like to make a statement about what you know?
Like about the whole situation.
Yeah, about, yeah.
I definitely think that we probably, that's why when I was on scene, I didn't go hands-on. I didn't tell him he was detained. I didn't say anything like that. I didn't ask him if he had any weapons on him. Because at that point, there just wasn't like a big idea in my head for me. That's
Okay.
why I called him for Officer Beatty. I know he's had a couple years on the road, so he's the senior officer to me, my zone partner. I called him, and I definitely think that when he got there, that the course of action he took probably was not the best one, because he wasn't able to get both sides of the story. And I kind of wish that we would have went back and had him talk to the business owner, and then have him talk to me. I was like, hey, this is what the business owner told me. What did he tell you?
Right.
Like, what do we have here now? And I think that we skipped over that step, and he went straight to going hands-on with him instead of going through the business owner, see
Right.
what we have,
Okay.
and then coming back to me and saying, hey, this is what he told me.
Okay.
And kind of see the differences and see if we can work out with the business owner what was going on.
So you calling him to the scene, if I understand you correctly, you were counting on his experience to try to help resolve this situation.
I was, yes.
Okay, in your view now, in retrospect, do you believe panhandling is a crime or a city ordinance violation?
No.
Do you believe that carrying a sign that says "God bless the homeless vets" on a public sidewalk, is there any crime or violation there?
No, sir.
Is there any crime or violation by a person that's carrying a concealed weapon lawfully with a concealed weapons permit?
No, sir, as long as it's valid.
Okay. So going back, what would you do different?
I'd probably go back in and kind of work through that myself, honestly. Go back to the business owner, be like, hey, this is what we have, this is what's going on, and probably just work that scene by myself. If he didn't want to identify himself, that's his right. Would have been like, hey, just to let you know, the business owner doesn't want you up in front of him. You're allowed to be on the sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk, but he doesn't want you talking to any employees and
Right.
anything like that. And at that point, I'd probably just let the matter be.
So if this gentleman continued to refuse and wasn't committing any violation, you would have what?
I probably would have got back in my car and contacted the supervisor, tell him, hey, this is what was going on, this is what we have.
Okay.
Just let him know that this dude matching like this description
Right.
was out in the street, and just in case if a further incident occurred on Canal later that night,
Okay.
we could at least know that we were in contact with the male matching that description.
Okay. Do you think it would have been a good idea on your way to the call to check if a city ordinance existed for panhandling?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay. This concludes the interview. Because this is an ongoing investigation, I'm going to ask that you do not talk to anybody else about this, except if you want to talk to a union or your personal counsel. If you have one, you can talk to them. Do not talk to anybody else involved in the investigation. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to terminate the recording at this time.